There we go. Mr. Bill.
Okay, we are transmitting live to our YouTube account, which means that you will be on a video, which is very, very cool. Um, we This is the NWSOFA.org. That's the website. And if you go up there, if you click on the YouTube account, it takes you to the all the videos that we've had over the last few years, a couple hundred. And click on the thing called live, and you'll see all the live videos that we've had over the last 3 weeks. So it's if there's anybody on the call that does not want to be on the video, please do not have your video screen on. But otherwise than that, this is going to be live right now. And so if you go to the bathroom or you have to grab a bite to eat and you come back and it's 5 minutes later, you can literally go up to the website and follow this on. There's about a 35-second delay. And with that, thank you all for being on.
Okay. Thank you so much, Bill. We greatly appreciate everything you do. And tonight, friends, welcome back. If you're here, coming back, and welcome if this is your first time. We have come a long way together already. In our first meeting, we sparked the fire, naming the urgency of this moment. And in our second, we began shaping that flame into something shared, a vision that could carry us forward. And thanks to Joe's framework, we now have beginnings of an action plan that gives us structure and direction. And tonight, we take the next step, moving from vision to policy. Or, since some of you know where this is going, from enjoying the brownie to writing down the recipe. Now, here's the truth of the moment that we are in. America is living with the consequences of the 47th regime in real time. Mass layoffs, hollowed out public services, tariffs driving up costs and shuttering businesses, and the big bloody bill that guts healthcare for millions while supercharging ICE and padding billionaire pockets. It's cruelty and corruption dressed up as governance, and the Supreme Court is enabling it. If we meet this only piecemeal, reacting to each outrage, shouting against each bad act, we risk disappearing into the noise. Our people tune out or assume someone else has it covered. Meanwhile, the damage deepens. But that's why we are here, to insist on coherence, clarity, and courage, to speak in one voice about what we stand for, not just what we oppose. Our vision forward framework rests on 4 unshakable beliefs: freedom and democracy, power belongs to all of us, safeguarded by law, fair elections, and civic duty; fairness and equity, dignity, justice, and equal opportunity for every opportunity to thrive, where work is valued, families are supported, and no one is left behind. A secure and sustainable future, protecting our planet, our people, and the generations yet to come. These are the brownies, the thing worth savoring. And tonight, we'll focus on the recipes, what policies can turn this vision into lived reality. Not to get lost in the weeds, but to stake out strong positions, clear principles, and bold alternatives that make sense to people where they live. This is not about nibbling around the edges. It's about baking something satisfying and irresistible together, because now is the moment to drive our pro-democracy factions to join together, organize, and lead as one cohesive force. So let's dig in. Today's team, we'll have your presenters, myself, Cecilia, we have Dr. Chris, Joe, Rebecca, and we have our co-facilitators, Adrian, Beth, Boot Money, Melissa, and most importantly, y'all, we could not do this without all of you here. And I see that we have over 100 of you here to now, which I'm very excited by. And we will be breaking out later into our breakout rooms. So I'm so excited by this.
Okay. All right. Hey, my name is Chris. I am going to kind of talk you through how we got here. And so I'll start a little bit just with the background of the project. We were on a coffee and conversation after our call, which many of you I think are familiar with, but I know some are not. And so that's the reason for going through the background. And during that call, we were kind of lamenting the concern and the frustration that we had with the loss to the Trump regime. And specifically what people were talking about is that the current regime did a much better job at communicating with their base and doing it in such a way that it was kind of simple, clear messaging, and the need for us to really do the same. So out of that conversation, we also talked about the need to really come up with a communication strategy where we talk like everyday people, and so there was some concern that some of our messaging was perceived as elitist and didn't really resonate with everyday folks. And so like I said, a couple people said, well, this is something we need to do. Do you think this is something we can do? And so in the spirit of the Coffee and Conversation Indivisible team, we're like, sure, we're up to that. So out of that, like I said, was born this Vision Forward initiative. I do want to caveat it a little bit, is that over time, the project changed a little bit. So the initial need and the initial concern was just having clear, compelling messaging that would resonate with everyday people. But we soon realized that to get there, we had to probably go through a couple different steps. The other thing is that one of our colleagues, Joe Woods, who's on the call tonight, also shared a document with us that also resulted in us kind of broadening the scope of the project. And we're going to talk a little bit about that more in detail later. So I like to say that we are still building this airplane as we're flying it. The project has been somewhat fluid and flexible. And so I ask you to keep that in mind as we move forward. We realized early on that any kind of messaging plan that we had to really had to be grounded in our values. And that we needed to draw a pretty significant contrast with what the alternative was from the status quo. And then no plan happens unless you have strategies. And we realize that we are truly in the middle of an authoritarian a moment in our country, and that we've got to retake the majority power by the midterms for us to affect some of the changes that we're going to be talking about tonight. So going forward, our goal is to achieve the following objectives that you see listed below. And we have we're going to kind of lay this out into 5 phases. So we'll start, and we have already had the first session where we brainstormed our pro-democracy values. Last session, we envisioned this, we imagined an America that isn't now, but could be. And then, and this is really the next 2 stages is then the need to come up with a simple policy framework. So nothing like a 900-page detailed document, but something more like a 5 to 7 page document that just talks about key policy framework, and then strategy on how we affect that change. And then last, and I know this is what most people were interested in, is just then developing the simple, clear, and compelling messaging that resonates with everyday people that we can use in our own inner circles, you know, so whether it's in your community, with your neighbors, with your families and your friends. And then, as I said, the scope of the project changed a little bit. So there will be some of us that decide to take this up a notch and share some of this with their representatives. And so now I'm going to talk about specifically the plan for tonight. Okay. So I'm going to turn it over to Rebecca in a moment. And she's going to recap for those who weren't on the previous calls, and even for the ones that were, just kind of remind everybody what we did in the first two sessions. And then we're going to shift our focus to what are the policies or programs that would need to be implemented to make the vision that we came up with last time into a reality. We're going to discuss that and brainstorm that question in breakout rooms, and we'll talk you through that process when we get there. And then we'll come back together. So make sure you have a scribe, somebody in your breakout room that can write down and maybe even record that to share in the chat, and then also communicate that during the debriefing session. And then we will end the night just wrapping up and then talking about our next steps for the session coming up in 2 weeks. So I am going to turn it over to Rebecca, who's going to do a recap of our values and our vision. Rebecca.
Yes, thanks, Chris. And thanks, Cecilia, for welcoming everyone so warmly and getting our energy pumped. So as Chris mentioned, we have our objectives for this project, and we split the project into these 5 phases you see on the screen. We have already focused on values and vision in prior sessions, which I will recap. In today's session, we're kind of in the middle of this sandwich. So we're going to be focusing on platform and policy, and we've got a lot to work with from what y'all have given us in previous sessions. Our next meeting will focus on strategy, which really just acknowledges the fact that Dems don't hold majority power at the moment, and that really hampers their ability to, govern or make changes. So that session, which is in 2 weeks from today, that's going to focus on how to resist the current authoritarian threat and position our leaders to take power as soon as possible. So that's going to be a super action-oriented session in 2 weeks, September 3rd. And fortunately, as Chris mentioned, we do have a leg up on that because our colleague Joe W. has been developing a framework and actually working with the policy office of one of our local reps. So a lot of folks have been contributing feedback with that framework, and we're continuing to refine it as we go, including with the feedback that we received tonight. And then our final stage will be messaging, which I know is kind of what everybody's really excited for, and was the original intent of this project. But we really felt like if we jumped on to messaging first, we'd kind of be putting the cart before the horse. We need to understand all of these previous steps so that our messaging can be consistent and effective and actually supporting things that we want to go do. Tonight, as I mentioned, we'll be focusing on policy recommendations, but first I wanted to recap values and vision that we already focused on in previous sessions. So in our first session, we focused on values, and at the end of that session, we ended up with this word cloud with all of these great things in it, like representation, law, equality, participation, vote, like all this stuff. And we put it in a word cloud and it was a little bit chaotic. So what we did in order to actually kind of make this useful was we sorted it into 4 what we're calling core beliefs. So you can see the quadrants here. Our 4 beliefs are freedom and democracy, fairness and equity, opportunity to thrive, and secure and sustainable future. And if some of those sound a little bit familiar, Cecilia mentioned those in her opening message. So we'll get deep into those here in a moment. Okay. So from those 4 core beliefs, in the last session where we focused on vision, if some of you joined us that day, this slide may look familiar because this is the slide where y'all were kind of reading things out to me, and I was like panic typing to capture all of your great ideas. So the idea here was we did breakout groups, and we asked the groups to envision or describe what our country or society looks like when each of these core beliefs is truly realized. And so I captured as many bullet points as I could, and some things are spelled wrong or probably got it backwards or something. But we captured a lot of this stuff. So this is ideas that y'all had. Interestingly, you might notice if you're reading through some of these things, some of these are describing the vision. So the thing that we want in the end. And I'll use here, engaged electorate across, all types of races, meaning presidential, Congress, or local school board, whatever. We want people to care about all of these political races. So that's great. We want that. That's part of our vision. But you'll also notice that some of these are more like, how do we get to our vision? And they're actually policy recommendations. Like, if you want people to be engaged and informed, you need to give people an education. So that's more of a policy suggestion. But you see, like, this mix of vision suggestions and policy suggestions is great. Like, we understand that sometimes it blurs together. We did our best to separate those two, and that gave us a lot of fodder for what we're going to talk about tonight. When we turn our focus to policy. Before we do that, I do want to show you guys what the excuse me, the synthesized version of our vision, what that looked like. And so for this, I'm going to have a couple of folks help us read through this, which I know we're not supposed to like fully read slides. That's kind of boring, but because this is the end goal of what we want our policy to accomplish, I feel like it's worth spending some time on. So I'm going to ask Beth M. to start us off and read the elements of freedom and democracy that make up our vision. Beth, can you come off mute?
Hi, my name is Beth, and I'm reading Democracy and Freedom. The power belongs to all the people through just laws and independent courts, fair elections, and shared civic responsibility. Number 1, a functioning, inclusive, multiracial democracy where every voice counts equally and voting is easy, universal, and expected. Number 2, everyone can trust the news they hear and read, and we can make decisions and vote with confidence. Number 3, government leaders are accountable, ethical, and transparent. No one is above the law, including presidents. Supreme Court justices, or members of Congress. And number 4, people are free to speak, protest, and live without fear or surveillance, detention, or political retaliation.
Thanks, Beth.
Mhm.
I do see in the chat some people are asking, how can I see this slide? It may be a little difficult if you're on your phone. What I'm going to do right now is I'm going to actually put a PDF of the slides in the chat so that folks can pull it up on their whatever device they would like. And I'll also note that it is on the Discord for those of you who are members on our Discord. It's in the Vision Forward channel. Thank you so much, Beth. You did a great job kicking us off. Next up, I'm going to ask Mr. Bootmoney if you will read the Fairness and Equity section, please.
Absolutely. All right, fairness and equity. All people deserve dignity, fair treatment, and equal opportunity, regardless of background, with systems designed to correct injustices and ensure inclusion. The society rooted in diversity, fairness, and inclusion, every person treated with dignity and respect, regardless of background. Government serves everyone. No one is invisible or left behind, including the most vulnerable or the historically marginalized. Equity means every person has a safe home, quality health care, great schools, affordable internet, and clean air and water. Our justice system doesn't only punish, but also prevents crime and heals harms. A culture of repair and reconciliation where past wrongs are acknowledged and addressed.
Thank you so much, Mr. Money. Next up, I'm going to ask Constance, please, to read Opportunity to Thrive.
Constance might have been one that could not see it, so I will go ahead and read it if you. Oh, wait.
Thank you.
And I actually might not be able to see the bottom part, but that's all right. Okay, creating conditions of where everyone can succeed and flourish. Everyone has access to a lifetime of affordable, high-quality education. Healthcare is accessible, affordable, and tailored to community needs. Our economy reflects our values, where work is honored and compensated fairly, and America leads through cooperation, not exploitation. Public systems are designed to empower people, eliminate structural barriers, and ensure that no one is left behind. Families and communities flourish when housing and care services are affordable and neighborhoods have public spaces and infrastructure bringing people together. Economic opportunity is widely available through job training, innovation, and a just transition to a sustainable future.
Thank you, Cecilia.
You're welcome.
And Adrian is going to cap us off with our last core belief.
No cap. Okay. Society ensures dignity, safety, and sustainability for everyone, now and in the long term. We care for the planet, so future generations inherit clean air, safe water, and thriving natural spaces to sustain life and beauty for centuries to come. Technology and power are governed by ethics, where digital systems respect personal dignity, autonomy, and security. No one is disposable as we protect the most vulnerable, children, veterans, disabled people, and unhoused and others with less power. through compassionate governance. Our country's future is made secure with principled alliances, defending democracy and global stability.
Thank you, Adrian. Thank you to all of our volunteers today. I appreciate you. That's definitely better than everybody listening to me for 10 straight minutes. So thank you. So based on the values here and the vision that we synthesized from everything that you guys gave us, I think we are now well grounded to turn our focus to policy. And I'm going to hand off to Joe for our next section. Joe, I'm going to ask you to unmute.
Hi, I'm Joe, and it's great to see everyone here. The number of people, it's really encouraging, and welcome. So for the next 25 minutes, we're going to break up into breakout rooms, and each of you will be assigned to one. And I'm going to show in a second a slide that is going to be kind of a reference point. It's based on the input from the previous sessions that folks have just read off, and also from a lot of feedback that we've gotten via Discord. And so that's been turned into some policy proposals as a starting point, as I said. So the important thing is, and the reason we're kind of doing this the way we wanted to, is you can't make the recipe unless you know what you want to get in the end. And so we wanted to go through that and have, a direction, a goal that we're going toward in terms of where we think the country and, our suggestions for policy should take us. And so this section is really now taking that and getting more into the detail of what are the policies that we think are encapsulated in that vision and that will help us get there. Some of the policy proposals may seem broad, and in fact, that's intentional. As an example, I think from a policy perspective, we might say that we want affordable health care for all. Now, when you get down into the nitty-gritty of policy, you might say, I want Medicare for all, or I want a single payer system, or, there are lots of different ways to get there. We're not trying to solve those technical policy issues. We're trying to say we want to implement a policy for affordable healthcare for all. And so, there'll be a mix of things that you see, but keep that in mind as we go through the suggestions. So the role of the breakout room will be to review the policy proposals, which I'll show you in just a second. And importantly, each breakout room will look at 2 of the 4 core beliefs that were just read out. Once you get into the breakout room, it's important for the group to select a scribe who will take notes and try to capture the feeling of the group. I will make sure that the transcript is running, so we'll also have that as backup. Then I will be a facilitator. Well, there'll be, I think, 6 breakout rooms. Is that still the plan?
Yes.
Okay. So there'll be 6 facilitators from the group that Rebecca read off in the very beginning. And we'll spend 10 minutes on each of the core beliefs that we'll be reviewing in each breakout room. Okay. If you go to the next slide. So I'm only going to go through one of these, but there'll be 4 of these, one for each of the core beliefs. So on the left-hand side, this is a summary of all of the input and discussion that took place at the last meeting in the Democracy and Freedom vision session. And so, as was said earlier, there's a mix of broader themes and more detailed policies. In the middle is the synthesized vision statement from all that. And then on the right is the policy ideas that were expressed as part of the vision sessions last time. So those are things to not be bound by, but to review, decide, do we agree that those are the right things? Do things need to be changed? Are there things that are missing? Things that we want to emphasize or prioritize? So as we go into the breakout rooms, that's really the mission, to have that conversation and define some of the policy ideas that we think are important under each core belief. So, let's see.
So just a quick review of once we go into the breakout rooms, task number 1, here, I'll go back one slide. Task number 1, pick a scribe. This is somebody that's not your facilitator, who is going to take notes. And then when we all come back together, they're going to share and like give us a little report back. It's going to be real quick, 3-4 minutes per group. And then what that's going to consist of is what Joe talked about. Anything in the policy proposals that needs to be tweaked or something that's missing, make sure that you bring that back. Then we'll come back. Oh, forgot to mention. Each room will focus on 2 of the core beliefs. It'll be in the name of the breakout room, which 2 your group is going to focus on. You should spend about 10 minutes per core belief. And then we'll all come back together and the scribes will be able to share. And then one thing, I will send out reminders for the facilitators in the groups, the facilitators, not necessarily the scribes, to save the transcript. So all of the facilitators know how to do that. Scribes don't have to worry about it. Are we all
Hey,
kind of
Rebecca.
clear? Yes.
Rebecca, are you going to remind us at the 10-minute mark to transition to the second topic?
Yes.
Okay.
And also remind us where the transcript, say the transcript, it's up upper right-hand corner.
Happy feet, wombo combo.
Sorry.
I think that's accidental, but I think that was Jose. Well, I
No.
could be wrong.
That was
We had a yeah.
Okay.
I'm sorry about that. Okay. Everybody take a deep breath in. Let it out. We carry on. Okay.
Somebody was trying to.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Julie, do you have a question before we go to breakout rooms?
I do, just a really quick one, very basic. Where?
Fuck niggers.
Oh boy, that wasn't me.
Where is that?
I don't know who.
I sent him to the I sent him to the waiting room.
We
So
have an intruder. Okay, Julie
Yeah.
again here, and
Yeah,
just my basic question is, where are we taking this policy? I think I heard Rebecca or someone say earlier that once all organized, we would take it to our representatives, or are we going to talk more
Julie,
about this later?
I think I can answer that. Okay. So the initial scope of the project was intended for people to have some messaging suggestions, to have communications locally within their community. So whether while you were canvassing, while you were talking to neighbors, etc. We, after the original project was kind of in progress, we were introduced to Joe Wood's document that he's going to go over that in much more detail at the end, kind of what the intent of that was.
Right. I've been
hear
in
me
on
out,
all
hear
these
me out.
meetings and
Yeah.
everything.
Just-
I have
just-
been following along, but I
just haven't finished that last sentence because I think this will maybe clear it up for you. So Joe has a document that he wrote to communicate with his legislators. And right. And so for some people in this group, but not all people, they might choose to do the same thing, to take the finished document that we come up with in this group that will outline simple policy as well as strategy. And they may opt to share that at whatever level you'd like to share it with, but certainly with maybe your representatives. But we know that that's not probably most of the people in the group, but perhaps some of the people in the group may opt to do that. Hopefully, does that clear up the question?
not really. I don't think you understand what I'm asking, but let's just move on. I'll address it maybe later with more information when Joe speaks. Okay?
Okay.
Yeah, no, I don't think you're understanding what I'm talking about, but that's okay. Let's just move on.
All right. We'll try again. We'll make sure that you leave and we all leave kind of with a more clear understanding.
Okay, and just a I guess a housekeeping note or an administrative note. Just because of that Zoom bomber, I think we're not going to admit anyone else from the waiting room. So if there are actual people that, maybe are joining late, we're not going to have them be able to join us. So if you lose connection and want to come back in, I'm not going to be able to let you in. So just because I don't know all your names. It's so wonderful we have so many people, but I don't know everybody's name. So try not to lose connection, I guess. Or you can watch from from our streaming on YouTube.
I want to also add that we should kind of take a deep breath because that's always disturbing when someone tries to disturb what you're doing. We have an important mission. And I think that says something about the power of our mission, for someone to want to disrupt it. So I think we should, one, feel like that we have the power to do what we're doing, and also take a breath and breathe out.
Okay, thank you. All right, with that, I'm going to open the breakout rooms. And so you should all go to your breakout rooms and you will be able to discuss these core beliefs that we've walked through. And just as a reminder, you'll each have 2 core beliefs and the policies underneath those to discuss. So I'm going to open the rooms and you should see by the name of your room which 2 to focus on. So here we go.
Rebecca, do you know which ones you want us in?
I'm going to send you in a moment.
Okay.
Okay. Adrian, I'm going to send you to number 1, which is democracy and freedom, and fairness and equity, just the first 2. Beth, I'm going to send you to democracy and freedom and opportunity to thrive.
Okay.
Okay. Mr. Money, you are going to democracy and freedom and secure and sustainable future. Cecilia, you are going to fairness and equity and opportunity to thrive.
You.
Dr. Chris, you are going to fairness and equity and secure and sustainable future. And Melissa and Joe, I think I'm going to send you both to the last room because I only set up 6. Opportunity to thrive and secure and sustainable future. So the last 2. And then I'm going to send the rest of you places. I am sending you, please hold.
Hmm.
Because
Becca, are you there?
Yeah, I'm wondering.
I'm
I
here.
don't
Okay.
like.
I didn't get to save the transcript.
Shoot.
I didn't either.
Okay, I don't like not having my computer. I don't because I had my iPad, I did not use my time well because sharing my screen made me not be able to pay attention to my time. So we only worked on one of the two things we were supposed to work on.
So let me ask you guys a question. I was sending out
I didn't see a thing.
nothing.
Not a thing.
Yeah, I saw the 5 minute, but that was it.
Okay, shoot.
I saw the
all of them. I don't know, but I could see every time you sent something out. So it's just some people had different views, but I saw them all.
I did too.
Yeah, I saw it too.
Well, like
I think
let's
depends on the
not kill ourselves or beat ourselves
Yeah,
up about
I was
the
gonna say,
transcripts.
yeah.
We were all there. I mean, you guys were all there. I was here by
Mhm.
myself.
Judith Wilkes saw all the time too.
What's that?
Said Judith Wilkes. Other people are saying they saw the times as well.
Yeah, I think if you're leading, it's hard to see the times at the same time, even though Joe and I are both leading. It's hard. And I think the time was a little short for doing two. And
Yes.
that's why we were a little pressed for time. So I think though we got a lot of good information from
Yeah.
people and there's more to discuss. That's people had really good ideas. We didn't get to go in depth on some of those ideas there because there were so many rich and important ideas.
And
But we
and just
did take
structurally, I want to add, that's a good reason that we send out summaries and updates via Discord, so that if there are additional ideas, that people will get the chance to review and add them. So we're definitely looking for input.
So we did have a scribe. I hope everyone had a scribe. And I also wrote down some notes. I'm a terrible scribe though, so.
But both the leader and the scriber can keep an eye on the watch. It's just a matter of learning how to do these things and be organized and prioritize, and it's a bit of project management. So I can understand that, because keeping an eye and taking notes at the same time and keeping an eye on the timer was difficult, but between me and Dr. Well, just kind of double teaming made a difference. But I think this is in such an initial stage that I think this is valuable just as it is, and no shame. We're making a difference regardless.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So let's see, should we move on to the next phase?
Yeah, I think we're ready to start the group debriefs. So Rebecca, I'm not really sure what group number 1 is, so maybe if you could call out who group number 1 is, that we'll have them start.
I think it was alphabetical order. So I believe that was Adrian's group.
Okay, I'm going to shout out to Miles. He was asking in the chat, he says, I was the scribe, and he was wondering what to do. And so I only asked him to be a scribe and not a reader. Maybe we could involve him. I don't know if he feels comfortable.
Question, do the summaries or whatever get sent out via email?
I took notes at our meeting. What do I do with my notes?
Read them to us.
Okay. Here's what I have. I have to scroll up a little. Elizabeth Lee is doing the transcript. Adrian H. started with democracy and freedom. Laura didn't see anything about gerrymandering. We need an objective way to divide districts. Require redistricting by a neutral body and compliance with the Voting Rights Act and the one person, one vote constitutional requirement. We're reading through the slides and noticing what might be missing. Constance, all races can be misconstrued. How about all elections? Mechanism for enforcement for the emoluments clause. That clause has been ignored. There's no check on conflicts of interest for accepting gifts. Gifts from domestic or foreign actors over a certain amount need to be illegal, otherwise reported to the Department of Justice for investigation and prosecution. An inspector general must be established to ensure that gifts are not given or sought. Reinstate the inspector generals, including in the executive branch, and make it their responsibility to monitor the acceptance of gifts and to deal with ethical issues such as conflicts of interest. The judges have their code of conduct. The Supreme Court must have a strict and enforceable ethics code that is reviewable by the federal appellate courts. We are looking for things that need to be clarified. Abolishing the Electoral College is in there. ICE shouldn't be allowed to wear masks. They should be identifiable. We should get rid of ICE. We should have immigration judges and local police should monitor immigration. Bruce says you need to have someone to detain the worst of the worst. Amp up the number of immigration judges. Constance does not want ICE prowling the streets, schools, courts, churches, and Home Depot parking lots. A lot can be done electronically. Maybe they're put on electronic monitoring. If they do not live up to the agreement, then ICE agents would get a warrant. There is also an enforcement. There's also enforcement by way of corporations and business entities. Vilifying the individuals is not what is wanted. Ellen says that Supreme Court justices have been impeached before. Adrian suggests that the impeachment process should be amended. The Supreme Court should have a tough ethics code to live by. There has to be a commission. Ellen says there already is something like that. The ethics code for the Supreme Court has no monitoring, no enforcement. You need the Supreme Court to be subjected to ethics enforcement, or an inspector general for the Supreme Court. And then we barely got started on fairness and equity. Somebody suggested that the Taft-Hartley Act needs to be amended because it puts too many restrictions on unions.
And I'll just add that we discussed families could be included in some of the broader ethics requirements and revision of emoluments clauses for not just the president, but for all public servants. So, yeah.
I like to also add to clarify, Adrian designated somebody else to do the transcript. It wasn't me.
Okay, that's okay, guys. We may not have a transcript. We may just have to deal with the vocal. And Miles, thank you so much.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Okay, thank you so much. I am capturing the transcript from this readout, so that will be super helpful because that was very detailed.
Yeah.
I believe Beth's room was next. So again, okay, if nobody has a transcript, but if anybody has memories of those 25 minutes, feel free to share.
Well, yeah, so thanks to Laura and Julie for putting up the PDF on the chat, since I did not know how to share my screen. And I read a little bit of it, and thanks to Gerald for starting me off when I felt like I was spinning my wheels a little bit. So to start off with democracy and freedom, and I was also the scribe. To fix the corruption, Gerald suggested bipartisan groups to vote to prevent the stuff that's happening from happening again in the future, and to engage with neighbors and community, talk about what is right and wrong, and appeal to people's conscience. to understand that, I'm sorry, I didn't catch the other gentleman's name who spoke, but to understand that we are a polarized nation and to make sure that we come to the middle during conversations and to appeal to humanity, try to bridge differences. And that kind of went into the opportunity to thrive into the education portion of it, where we just need to kind of read the person who we're speaking with and come to their level, maybe asking questions, etc. Also, Julie mentioned, and some of the other people mentioned, to join coalitions. She said there's a federal comment line regarding clean air and water that we should take advantage of, as well as the 5 Calls app. And I believe Gerald said to reinstate watchdog groups again to help with all of these basics that are getting torn away from us so that it can stop. So that's what we have.
Awesome. Sounds like you guys had well, I peeked in there. You guys had a rowdy, energetic discussion. So seemed like you guys were having fun. Okay, I think Boot Money's room might have been next. I'm going in alphabetical order, trying to remember.
Martha, are you around? Hopefully you're still here. Did we lose Martha?
Nope, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Okay.
Gotcha.
Hi. So we really dove in. Oh, I'm sorry. Were you saying something?
No, I don't know that we followed the syllabus quite closely, but it still was pretty interesting.
Somehow I'm not shocked. Boot Money.
Yeah. We really dove into the first question, what does democracy mean? Deb M started us off. We can each say what we think and do what we want without our lives being threatened. And then, oh, I'm so sorry. I think it was Ari, said, really, what is freedom? So she was saying that a democracy should be the freedom to experience democracy by everyone, not one thing for one group. And later on, Boot Money kind of said that's our base layer. I see, Ari, so I hope I'm getting that right, that you really said we have to start with freedom, that's the most important thing, that everybody's free to access whatever this thing is that we're calling democracy. Judith said it's choosing leaders, having voting rights, being able to speak your mind, and the minority group being able to speak their mind, and have those thoughts determine policy, that what we're saying can actually impact government, and that it also had an economic factor, with people not being excluded from education. And also, she also mentioned the right to vote. Cynthia A said a healthy democracy has to have trust in the democratic system, and that threatening people is not democracy, that a democracy should be just as well as free. And then Amy S said respecting and protecting and carrying out the Constitution, no taxation without representation, due process, and respecting each person's space and their body. Becky S said money should be out of politics in an ideal democracy. That the decision of corporations are people really obliterated the whole one person, one vote. So she would have us do away with that. Jeannie brought out again, representation is the thing that it all comes down to for her, if she's boiling down what democracy is that it represents each of us. Judith added that that everything on our list is going to be rejected by anyone with racist tendencies. So she was bringing out the challenge that we're going to have with our democratic ideals. And then I think that segued right into the next question: how do we make this happen? Which Ari was the one who sort of led us off there again with speak truth to power, and starting with facts and things that are documented. And then the conversation went on that we have to do this. We all have to feel enabled to speak up and stand up and be respected. And then boot money was we kind of took a little sidestep with kind of trying to define what what conservatism is. And so we were saying that now, Ari was saying now we have fascism, where we used to have conservatism, it's now fascism. And that's kind of when we started to get the flashes to come back. So I hope that encapsulated everybody's thoughts well.
Awesome job, Marta. That was great.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I am 0% shocked that boot money may have taken you on a little side excursion of value. Of value.
Yes.
Mr. Money, give your hand up.
You know, we were about to get into the interesting part because Aura just gave us a great platform to build off of. But and I'm glad Larry's here because he may back me up, and so might James. But I just assume everybody knows the same thing I do, which I'm finding out that everybody knows their own thing. So I guess this is my own thing. But we always get caught up in this conversation about racism, all right? And what most Americans don't know is that racism was engineered. Originally, when first human beings came here, whether they were coming off of Asia or whether they came from Europe and Africa, they sort of had to depend on each other. And there's one event in American history that created American racism. And since everybody knows how to use AI, I would strongly suggest you look up a thing called Bacon's Rebellion. I think it's 1676.
Sounds delicious, but it's probably not.
What's that?
Bacon's Rebellion?
Yeah. Nobody's ever heard of it, I would imagine. But it's key to understanding
Rebecca
why
was
we
making
live in
a
this mess.
humorous double entendre joke.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm very well familiar with it. I
Bob?
recommend everybody.
But anyway, the whole point of that is that we have to understand that racism is not natural. It's been engineered into our system. That's why we can never get ourselves off of the starting point. And as Zora pointed out, we can never be free because we don't understand where this stuff came from. And we don't understand that it's been engineered into our lives. All right. There's in my life, I don't think there's anything as like liberals and conservatives. That doesn't exist. It's people who look forward and people who don't want to go forward, and then a bunch of floaters.
So Bob, can I offer a perspective? Over here to my right are the manumission papers that belong to my great-grandfather 3X, dated 1839.
Oh, excellent.
And guess what? It's folded because they had to keep it on his person.
Right.
And what we have to remember is racism has been systemic, and it shows itself up in different forms. I don't look at that document as a source of shame. I look at it as a source of pride from where I came. I know whose shoulders I stand on. But what I do and am concerned about is that we are in a period of time that it's like Reconstruction 2.0, but the average American does not understand American history and how Reconstruction leveled progress has been made, not unlike the loss of civil rights.
Absolutely. It was another engineered solution to a problem that only benefits the upper class. I mean, they like to push out the idea that somehow we're a classless society, but that's never existed. Our classes always break down somehow. But what they've done, what the colonials did, was engineer the
Amen.
separation, because as human beings have known forever, you wanna rule somebody, divide and
conquer.
And that's what they've done. And that's why we have to attack the root cause of these
Amen.
problems. And
Preach on.
We know what the
No, no more preaching on. Sorry.
Okay, shut me off, Rebecca.
Right.
Beat me
I
up,
personally,
Johnny.
I have to go do bedtime in like 19 minutes, 18 minutes. So we're gonna keep this moving. Thank you, Team Boot Money and everyone. Let's see. Okay, Boot Money. I think Cecilia is next, alphabetically. Cecilia, your group. Oh, you're muted.
All right. Sorry about that. We only got through one slide. And who was our...
I was this reluctant scribe.
Yes, my reluctant scribe.
And you can have your gold star back, because I've never been a secretary before.
You're muted.
Oh,
No, we can hear you.
No,
Okay.
I can hear you fine.
Okay.
You wish I was muted. I've never been a secretary, and so I didn't know, or I didn't put like who said what, and I hardly got anything. We started our meeting at 8:50 p.m., which I don't know what time we left, but we had considerable difficulty sharing the screen to get the slide up, but we figured it out. Yeah. So what I got is minimal. I got the first comment was, I forget who said it, was define what everyone means. We should decide if the policy is for Americans and another policy for immigrants or citizen, or we should put everyone, comma, citizen or non-citizen. So that was one. And then somebody else, a female person, said they wanted more detail on clean air and water. So then we talked about that a little bit. We didn't really, we said it was a local thing, that it would be like the federal government and then the local would have to figure out. And we talked about the EPA a little bit, if they would have their regulations, that a lot of our problems would be solved around that. Then for affordable housing, it was Cecilia said it doesn't necessarily mean single family houses. And I think I'm pretty sure she was thinking about when climate change comes and we're all going to be having problems. Those of us who aren't millionaires are going to be having problems. And also the people south are going to start moving up here because it's already bad for them because of climate change, and it's only going to get worse. But we really didn't go into a lot about that either. And then the thing about, I don't even know what topic it was under. See, you can have your gold star. We should strike the sentence that says particular focus. Oh, that was healthcare, universal health care. And we don't need the sentence that says with a particular focus on underserved population, because universal means everyone. And that it's redundant. And then we got the notice that we had to go back, and then suddenly I was being drawn back, and that's all I got. And I'll try to do better next if I have to do it again.
You did great. You did.
And you
I don't
keep
even
that
know
gold
who
star.
I don't know who said what or anything, but
We had technical difficulties at the beginning because I'm not used to using my iPad, dear, and so most of it was my fault, and so I will not take the gold star. You deserve it. So thank you very much. You did awesome.
Yes. Thank you, Cecilia's room. Next up, Dr. Chris's room.
Yeah,
Okay.
so I'm trying to think who our scribe was.
Andrada.
Andrada, I think it was you, right? In the end, I know we went back and forth between two different people. I think you ended up being it.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay.
Thanks.
Yes. I was the scriber. And of course, we have the same challenges. That probably will sound redundant if I say so. I'll turn on my camera. Our two topic of focus were a future for all, as well as fairness and equity. So one of the question was, what is the end goal? What are we trying to achieve with this? Because better future for all is broad, is not vague, but it can encompass so much. So the purpose was for the group to come up with a simple message. It's gonna bring it down. Look at the end goal, better future. Okay, how can we synthesize that? How can we encompass it and come up with the essence of it into one message? Because when you are talking to your friends, your neighbors, your acquaintances, and people who are undecided, are on the other side, uneducated, how are you going to approach with that? So while we have not decided upon that one short, emphatic message of it, that would be the goal, to come up with that and then bring it right back to the policy level and expand on it. And of course, better future for all would be funding, money, of course, economics. So there should be, the agreement was that there should be more funding for scientific research, part of education. So if we're talking about environmental protection, scientific research is germane to it. Other clear policies, especially artificial intelligence that we touched on, that although it may sound fun right now and we're coming up with different little themes and, what would Cinderella look in real life or whatever else, there's an ethical question and a question of fairness, because some malicious individuals could gain an unfair advantage with it just by having that control, take advantage of other people. So another big question to think about is, how do we provide fair and equal education to everybody when it comes to AI? And how do we regulate it? Because it's very, very important to regulate it, to make it accessible, because it is an excellent tool, but also to regulate it fairly, so that some do not have advantage over the others by using it. It should benefit everybody and not just some. And when it comes to fairness and equity, of course, access to communication for everybody, regardless of ability, background, or income, sexual orientation, or identity, especially LGBTQ minorities, disadvantaged individuals, whether physical or income-based. It is quite important. How do we achieve that is another question that we should ponder and explore some more. and broadening that access to disadvantaged group, including rural areas. Because Texas does have quite a big amount of rural areas, and they do not have equal access to the internet, and they only have access to certain TV stations. And through that, they only get a certain type of information, and that could be biased. And options are not presented. It's not balanced.
So I'm sorry to interrupt. Just for the sake of time, do you have like one or two final thoughts? Okay, yes. Great, thanks.
Sure. Yes. So tying it in with fairness and equity, of course, equal access to safe housing and affordable housing. And that was a beautiful thought, because going back to Maslow's pyramid of priorities, if you don't have safe housing, you cannot explore any other options, and you cannot better yourself as an individual. That's at the bottom of it. So, as well as clean air, clean water, of course, pollution is so rampant. We have passed a law that we cannot protest. It is against the law in Texas to protest opening the pipelines. And lastly, opportunities to equal healthcare, especially mental health. And that, again, takes us back to rural areas as well.
Great. Thank you so much. That was very thorough. I appreciate it. Our last group, which had dual facilitators, Joe and Melissa, that group was like a little extra lucky. Do you guys have a report out?
And Nikki was our scribe.
Awesome.
Yes, hello. I also have emailed you the notes and then posted it in the Discord as well, because I know we're short on time, so people can access the document there. We took a look at opportunity to thrive. So under education, our focus was looking at some of the language in particular policies. So for example, the first one where we're fully funding public schools, including special ed, we're discussing that it did not include English as a second language programs as well, just because that is a community that is at risk. There was discussion about the language on affordable advanced education versus free education, having us reinstate research funding, restore funding in tribal colleges and universities. For healthcare, there was an emphasis on basic medical research, eliminating work requirements for coverage, reinstating access to vaccines, a return to science or evidence-based healthcare, and maintaining the gold standard for public healthcare systems. Under economy, being more specific as to what does fair wages mean. So are we talking about the $15 an hour, or is it more of a living wage based upon the area that people live in? So you want it to be evidence-based for that number. Under strong labor protections, emphasizing the access for people to organize with unions. And then in addressing tariffs, can we consult with the UN or some other global constellation? For public systems, under underserved populations, for universal healthcare, adding veterans as a class in there, and then also discussing universal healthcare for all. So does that also include our immigrant population as well? And then under civil participation, maybe adjusting wording to inviting or including, just making it a little bit better. And then we briefly touched upon the second topic of sustainable and secure future. So we were looking at ensuring investment in clean energy infrastructure, policies to reduce greenhouse gases in order to tie with environmental protections. And then under protections for children development and autonomy, we feel like the language needs to be a little bit more specific. That is all that we got to at that time.
Thank you, Nikki. You did a fantastic job and very thorough.
Yes, great job. Thank you so much. Thank you to all of the groups and all of the scribes. You all get gold stars. There's no giving gold stars back. You all did wonderful. So thank you for your service tonight. And please next time, opt out of being scribes so that you can be an active participant, because obviously we welcome your opinions as well, not just you being a representative of your group. Okay, and with that, I'm going to hand it off to Chris and Joe, I believe. And let me put the slides back up.
Okay, so we are going to wrap up the night. So what we just did is really look at the policy piece of this. And because I know that we probably have more to add, we'll get some of the information up on Discord. And so we can, because I know even for me, I have to really kind of wrap my head around the concept before I can just kind of free flow. And I know some people are better at doing that than are others, but in any case, Discord will be an opportunity. So just to kind of lead you through where we've, our journey together. So we started off, in our very first session talking about our shared pro-democracy values. Then last time we envisioned the America that we want to exist, want to be, that has never really been, so that dream, the dream, and just imagining what are the possibilities. Tonight we worked on the platform and the policy, and then next session, 2 weeks from now, we'll be working on the strategy, like how we get there, recognizing we are not in charge. We're in a position where we have to regain power. So a lot of our strategy is going to be focused on getting folks into positions, right? And at the midterms to where we can hopefully have influence. So what I want to do now is turn it over to Joe so he can better share with you what his, this document that he has worked on that encompasses the policy platform as well as the strategy. So I'm going to turn it over to you now, Joe, and you can kind of talk people through that.
Thanks, Chris. And I'll try to be brief because I know we're running long. I just wanted to give some context. I wrote the document that I sent to Chris and then shared out of extreme frustration with Democrats' lack of a coherent vision, statements, telling the population anything, and also a lack of an actual plan, very reactive. I'd worked with my reps before on other issues, and so I wanted to start a conversation with them and to try to really push them to take more aggressive action. And I was looking for a positive vision, not just we don't like what Trump is doing, and that we needed, we have to act ourselves, but we also need strong leadership, and that's up to them, that we're looking for, and a sense of urgency that just did not appear to be there. So what I laid out was a plan that starts with our values, because my belief is that the values that we're talking about are shared by a lot more than 50% of the people. When you get down to specific policies, that's where things break up. But on a lot of these big core policies, we can gain agreement. Second thing is that a lot of the positions that Republicans had carved out, their actions are actually betraying their words. And so that's an opportunity for us to make if we make a clear statement of what our values are. And then that creates a common thread of values and our vision through both our vision and why we're opposing what Trump and the Republicans are doing. Frustration continues because Democrats still don't have a clear vision or a plan. But what has changed is that the pain that's being caused by Trump's actions is starting to be felt. Recent polls have shown that on most issues, even ones that he's historically strong on, he's underwater. And the second thing is that all these protests that we've been doing are really gathering force and having an impact. But that doesn't replace actual action. So based on the conversations that I've had with my representatives and others, and you hear it in the media, there's actually momentum in Washington now for a much more aggressive response. They're frustrated with the lack of an urgent response. And so what I found specifically in talking to my rep is that she said that there are other reps kind of forming coalitions to get behind creating a coherent vision, to creating a consistent call for action, like what we've been talking about, and also actually being the opposition party, not, we're representatives and we need to vote, and we'll keep the Congress moving. They are looking to stop the Congress. You have to vote to bring things onto the floor, and they've been voting to allow whatever the Republicans were doing to go to the floor. These people are looking to stop that and shut the thing down. We've got a budget thing coming up in the next 2 to 3 weeks. I don't know if they'll come through with it, but they are working to not give Democratic votes to whatever the Republicans are trying to do, because we can't trust them. So I guess the reason I say that is what we're doing is very timely, and there should be allies to kind of receive and react to this call. So where do we go with this? I think, and the conversations that I've picked up in on Discord are they're complicated, but my belief is we should be sharing this work broadly. As Chris was laying out, some people are going to want to bring this to their friends and neighbors and to have a clear statement of where we as Democrats want to go, or the opposition party, I'll make it broader, want to go. Others will take it to their other groups that they're working with, other Indivisible or Third Act or, League of Women Voters, whatever. Others will take it to candidates that approach them, as they start thinking about running. Or we can take it to our representatives. But it's not just our national representatives. It's at the state level. It's at the local level. We need to put a full court press on. And this is one way that we can do it. None of us have any illusion that we put this out and it's like, oh my God, thank you. We've been looking for this. But if we don't press them, they're not going to act. And so that's the reason for our urgency in doing this project. We're doing the strategy, and the next phase will actually be an action plan. In the document that's been floating around, I had a summary of some of the actions that I thought we could take to organize. That's a beginning. I had a more detailed thing, but I was trying to keep it short. But we'll be looking for the input of the group in following sessions on where to take this in terms of what the actions would be. And again, it's our individual actions, it's our state actions, local actions, and what we're going to try to get our national leadership to do. So I guess what I would say is the PDF of the slides is in the chat, and it's also on Discord. There are videos, if you want to, I guess, go to that next one, that it would be good to read to get some more context of what other people are saying. There have been other things posted. I posted an interview with Pete Buttigieg, a great communicator, and that's another bit of input. But there's a lot of resource on Discord. So take a look at that as we move into the next sessions as well. And I think now I turn it over to Rebecca if she's still here.
Yeah, just.
Okay, sorry
And
about
then
that.
I'm gonna do this really quick, and then I gotta go put my child to bed. Okay, so as as we noted, our next session is 2 weeks from today, Wednesday, September 3rd. I will remember that because it is the day my older child turns 15. So I will be celebrating with y'all. Just kidding. Well, I'll be celebrating with her and then with y'all. Okay. I did want to say thank you. Again, thank you for everybody coming and spending their time. I know, like, what day is it? It's a Wednesday night. You could be doing anything else in the world, and you you decided to spend your hour and a half, almost 2 hours with us. So we see that and we appreciate that. And just know that we're all continuing to shape this vision and the policy underlying it. And it's not just about opposition and resisting what's wrong, but we're together, we're building something. We're building what is right. And it's a grind. Like, to be honest, it's not easy and people are tired, but we're a community here. Like, at one point we had over 100 people here together, and we are all caring about the same thing. So we we know we're not alone, and we know with numbers like this, we are not powerless. And I know many of you are fans of Heather Cox Richardson. I am as well. I think she's brilliant. Fun fact, she grew up in Wheaton, which is where I live. So whoop whoop. She reminds us the way you change politics is to change the way people think. And the way you change the way people think is that you make sure your voice is heard. And you find your friends and you speak together. So together, we're going to keep on building stone by stone, word by word, policy by policy. And next time, we're going to start thinking action by action. So I hope to see you all at the next session, which is in 2 weeks on Wednesday, September 3rd. Thanks so much and have a great night, everybody. Bye, y'all.
It's been wonderful. Have a great night.
Thanks,
Thank
everybody.
you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody.
Have a good
Thank you to
evening.
everybody.
Bye-bye. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thanks for being there. Put more
Okay.
on. Put more on
Thank you for bringing
Discord.
us together.
Thank you for being there. And Julie, I hope that made sense. If not, we'll catch up later.
Do not know why I cannot save the chat.
I
You
saved
will,
the
though.
chat. I saved the transcript. So
You're good.
I think
Good.
that's
Good. Thanks.
it.
This was really